we are going to Alterac Pass, picked by Scorpius Eternum. So I went back to the map pick for this second match. They want to take us to Alterac Pass, and we are getting right into the draft.
Yeah, sorry about game number 1. We did transfer over who's streaming it, but it was successfully recorded, so you'll have to catch that on YouTube later. But it was a very exciting game that went over in the end to Regen Blue. So we will see, as you said, map pick by Scorpius onto Alterac Pass. Should be interesting to see if they have their own strategy, as many teams are kind of discovering their own kind of strategies on this map currently.
Yep. And we saw in the first game, I believe, the Ana and then the Diablo coming out as our first two bans. And those may stay the same. Yep, there's the Ana, because those are both very strong heroes. And then I believe we saw Artanis as a second ban from Regen Blue. I do not think we will see that here. He is nowhere near as strong on Alterac as he is on Battlefield of Eternity. But I don't actually remember our second ban from the side of Scorpius. Oh, but this time they'll ban Anubrak. The Anubrak wreaked havoc on them last game, and they do not want to see it again here.
Yeah, Mongoose was putting a lot of work just getting dives onto that backline, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. So that will be them able to pick up. I at least have to look for a different option. Maybe a Diablo. Nope, not Diablo. Or a Garrosh, someone who, if they're looking to maybe replicate that dive, get a little bit deeper, or like a Tyrael too, to put pressure on the backline yet again for Regen Blue.
Yep, Tyrael definitely an option if you want that more divey tank. Although at this point, I'm not sure I would commit to Tyrael. I think I would just change the team comp up a little bit, go for something more like a Garrosh or an ETC perhaps. But Tyrael certainly, if you are fully committed to getting to the backline as fast as possible. Tyrande ban. And we did. The Tyrande was played last game by the side of Regen Blue, and it looked quite good. So they're just saying, you played these heroes too well. We are not letting you have them again. We'll see if it works out for them.
By banning, kind of based off the last game, that opens up a lot of meta heroes. But Jaina will be picked up yet again by Jason for Regen Blue, able to do a lot of burst damage and put a lot of pressure, at least onto the tanks of Scorpius last game.
Yep, and the other problem there with banning out the Anubrak Tyrande is that Regen Blue played a really strong all-around game. Scorpius picking up the Stukov again, quite early again. Quite very interesting to see. But Regen Blue played such a strong all-around game in the first one, with Kael'thas coming out here, that it's hard to say that it was just the Anubrak and Tyrande. Like, that Jaina was putting in a whole lot of work, some fantastic kills finished off by the Jaina. That, I mean, it's one thing if you are really truly scared of that Anubrak and that Tyrande, as they are certainly good heroes and they were certainly played well. Rhaegar Thrall coming out. But Regen Blue looked quite good, and I'm very excited to see what they do here with this double Orc Rhaegar Thrall composition.
Yeah, Rhaegar Thrall is showing that they're going to be aggressive yet again on the side of Regen Blue in this next game. Trying to get onto this Kael'thas and Stukov and force some havoc. Now, something to note with Stukov is that you are able to infinitely stall the objective if it is close to your fort. So maybe interesting to see if they do implement that strategy on the side of Scorpius in order to get pushed elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true. With ETC and Arthas being banned, we're seeing even more main tanks taken off the table, and now I start to think that Tyrael you mentioned earlier, I could easily see Tyrael slotting in here for Regen Blue. They've already gone Rhaegar Thrall. It shows that they want to play very aggressively, and it worked for them last game. So I don't think it's I think it's very, very possible, definitely not off the table, that we see a Tyrael come out. We do see the Johanna being picked up again from Scorpius with the Lunara this time. Lunara is an interesting hero. Abathur Muradin instantly locked on the side of Regen Blue.
I actually really like the Abathur. This is a really large map, but Abathur is both going to be able to provide a lot of burst damage and some shields and healing for Thrall or Jaina when they're going in onto the backline of Scorpius, while at the same time being able to contribute a lot of soak during the objective phase.
Yep, and now it's interesting to see what KV Strike will pick up here in this last slot. He'll pick up the Dahaka, makes sense. Dahaka, you don't always see Dahaka going in the very last pick on a map this large, because he gets a lot of value from being able to, like you said, with Stukov being able to infinitely stall sometimes and being still quite good stalled at other times. Johanna is very good at stalling, and so with Dahaka you can just sit him in the lane opposite where the where that camp is and just have him push out, and then he has the burrow to come in if he is needed. But the Abathur being picked up by Regen Blue means that they do have an answer of sorts to that. They can just sit their Abathur off and have him soak out to match the Dahaka. So a lot of global presence from both sides. It'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out.
Yeah, I think I actually prefer the draft of Regen Blue here. They have a lot of XP and damage in order to put a lot of pressure onto the backline of Scorpius, but we will see. Starting off here for Regen Blue, we will have Chronovast on the Rhaegar, Mongoose on the Murden, Jason on the Jaina yet again, Larson on the Thrall, and Grendel on the Abathur.
Now on the red side for Scorpius, we've got Devil You Know back on Stukov, KV Strike on Dahaka, Ill at Death playing the Kael'thas, Bryn Tone on Lunara, and Judo Chop returning to Johanna. And now game number 2 here on Alterac Pass. This should be a good one.
Yeah, as we see Thrall immediately splitting off into the top lane there, and Abathur I assume is going to probably be burrowing down into the bot lane in order to put immediate soak and lane pressure into all 3 lanes outside of Regen Blue.
Yep. Well, Abathur currently staying put in the mid lane, but you've got to figure he's going to move before too long. I guess we'll have to see. The Wisp from Lunara finding out, positioning of the Mongoose, but then he'll just back up. Abathur content to just hat the bottom lane right now. Dahaka will go down to deal with that, and they'll send Kael'thas top to deal with the Thrall. So the body of Abathur is actually just staying mid for the moment. We see the Murden going down to harass the Dahaka in the bot lane with the hat. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one gets played. I think this will be a very macro positioning heavy type of match. Team fights, of course, always important, but positioning is going to mean a lot here on such a big map and with such globally present heroes from both sides.
Yeah, as we now see both teams splitting off onto the camp. The problem on the side of Regen Blue is Jaina is their best camp clear, along with Krino, at least as well as a support can clear camps. But Jason has to burn all of his mana, as you can see, in order to be able to try to take the siege camp. Meanwhile, on the side of Scorpius, you see that there's very healthy clear by Illidef here on the Kael'thas. So even though they're about to take at the same time, this will force for Jaina to have to be a little bit more mana conservative in the upcoming fight in the mid.
Yep. And now both teams do have that mid camp at about the same time. Going to be pushing down the middle lane. Just going to kind of both teams poke a little bit back and forth. Want to get those cleared. Murden on Mongoose now getting back to the mid lane. So both teams will have 3 members here, with Dahaka being bot lane with an Abathur hat, and Thrall and Johanna hanging out in the top lane. Just not anything super huge happening. Level 4 being picked up by both teams. Slight clear advantage going to Regen Blue, but it's nothing of huge note, although it does allow Murden to rotate down to the bottom lane to harass Dahaka a little more. Now we see the prison camps coming up in just 25 seconds. Judo Chop quite low on mana on that Johanna. We see Jason backing here just to get that mana bar back up to full. Looks like Johanna will be backing as well, following the lead. They're looking to gank Thrall. Won't find him, but will force him to back up, and it looks like Scorpius is going to go to the camp immediately, start a little defensively, as you should. Wisp going out to scout the other side as Regen Blue starts to move onto the camps themselves.
Yeah, Scorpius is just going to be content here to try to play defensively, allow for Daka to get as much soak as possible here in order to counter the Abathur soak in the bot lane. Meanwhile, Regen Blue also just going to be trying to push out some lanes here, see if they can get some lane pressure elsewhere while Abathur is able to get value. Should be interesting to see who makes the first move.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, because both of these teams content to just kind of sit back a little, let their global heroes get some value. That's the reason they picked them. But at some point, you got to figure somebody's going to blink. Somebody's going to engage. We don't know who it is yet. Oh, there's Regen Blue moving to the mid lane. Scorpius is going to follow. I thought they might go for the flank, but they chose not to here. And you see the Haka still sitting pretty in the bot lane. Abathur just doing Abathur things with his hat. And Thrall is up in the top lane. 7 being picked up by both teams. And it looks like Scorpius is going to go ahead, move up a little, force Regen Blue to come to them because they're going to be the ones on the attack. Oh, and Stall does not come out in time from Jason, so the camp is actually picked up by Scorpius here.
And now it's going to have to warrant a response here by Regen Blue, something they don't necessarily want to do, but they are able to finally get the stall. That's huge, with Krenovas able to kind of sneak in there and allow for Abathur to get some more soak. However, they did not force Tahaka to have to TP up quite yet, so the XP will be about equal here as we continue to go on in the fight. Now Mongoose deciding to try to initiate onto Brimstone. Judo Chop taking a lot of damage as we see KV Strike rotating up, able to get the tongue onto KV Strike, or Krenovas, excuse me, doing a lot of damage to him. Mongoose taking a lot, but however, he's taking in there, especially if Judo Chop, his counterpart taking a ton. Another big ton, his tongue is able to get Thrall, so that will be this first the allied camp again being taken up by the side of Scorpius.
Yep. So you see that Krenovas is falling quite low, but he's not the orc who died. You see the Thrall going down. And you see that Abathur actually heading to the bot lane with Jaina's there too, with Jason, and they got some good push, getting about half of that wall already, and it will push out the minion wave, which makes it a little easier to clear that cavalry. But cavalry is going over to Scorpius here. KV Strike was really coming up big for them in that fight. A couple huge tongues, including the one on Thrall that secured the kill. And they will have a slight level lead, maybe a third of a level, but if they play this right, they might be able to roll this into a 10 advantage, and if you're them, you've got to want to roll that into something bigger.
Yeah, the crucial thing is that the XP is still just about equal, even a slight edge for Scorpius, that will only grow as these walls start to go down. As we look at the top lane, we see KV Strike and Mongoose just trading out a lot of damage here. A nice tongue there by KV Strike yet again on the Mongoose. Doesn't have the cleanse this time. Renovat, and that will allow for them to take the gate top in the 3v2. Meanwhile, we see Jaina actually falling in the 2 Illidef here on the Kael'thas, and Abathur barely not able to get him. And then in the mid lane with the 2-person uncontested push, that will be the fort being taken. So a very strong early game by Scorpius.
Yep, and Illidef on that Kael'thas is just going to be forced to back, something Jaina was unable to do. And it does give him about a full level lead. There's about half a level left before Regen Blue can pick up their 10s. They may be able to get it just by clicking to push out waves. They will. So now both teams picking up their ults. We see the water elemental from Jaina again. It worked out quite well for her last game, so no reason to shy away from it. Avatar, of course, the pick for Muradin. We see the Ancestral for Rhaegar, which is not too shocking. Ultimate Evo coming out from Abathur. Thrall still considering his ult. And from the side of Scorpius, we see Blessed Shield, Phoenix, Thornwood Vine, Isolation, and a Massive Shove for the Stukov. We do see Earthquake being picked up by Thrall. Earthquake, always a good ult to have, especially it's a nice defensive tool, especially when you have an Abathur on your team, so you only have 4 men. You may want to get out of some of those fights. It's a nice distance.
Yeah, Mongoose had a nice rotate onto Illidef here, forcing out the Blessed Shield to be popped by Junijop just to be able to save Illidef's life. And so that will be a little bit of an advantage here for Regen Blue as they look to get yet another engage onto the Stukov. However, the nice shove onto Mongoose pushes him under towers, forces it for him to pop Avatar. Turn around, put a lot of damage on definitely and we actually end up seeing the Ancestral being popped here. In order to try to keep Mongoose alive. And in that bot lane, we see that Brenta was able to sneak the Abathur kill in the middle of that fight.
Very sneaky. Managing to take down that Abathur is always a nice feeling. Going Abathur hunting and finding the bug and squashing him out. And so now 13 are about to be picked up here in just a second for the side of Scorpius. They will have about a full level advantage, and they're going to take advantage of it. Although, looks like Regen Blue playing aggressively. Mongoose in that very far up bush finds the stun on Johan. It's dangerous.
Yeah, definitely a little bit caught out here. Force Pop is healing early, but they will be able to kill the water element. So a nice drag there onto Jason. We'll get the kill onto Jaina as KV Strike comes in, able to make an immediate impact, and now Mongoose is on the run. We'll be able to go away with the help of that Abathur Hap, and that will be able to allow for Scorpius to probably start the channel on this objective.
Yep. Another nice tongue by the Haka. Couldn't quite finish it out with a kill, but these tongues have been huge. They've been really helping him out in the team fights, but that Jaina just stepped up a little too far and got forced down for it. And pretty impressive that WNO was able to keep himself alive on the Stukov there. We do see the camp being picked up by Regen Blue, which is going to help them get some push out in the mid lane, but the mid lane so far pushed up for Scorpius. They don't necessarily have to respond immediately. It looks like they will.
KV Strike here might be a little caught out, especially with the Earthquake being popped here, and along with Evo on Grendel. Mongoose going in deep. We do see Ancestral being popped onto Larson now as KV Strike taking a lot of damage, but with the isolation able to get away here. As now we see Grendel looking to see if he can get the kill onto Lunara before Evo goes away, but not able to do so. Scorpius now regrouping and looking to get the re-engage onto Regen Blue.
If they play this right, they certainly can. The evolution is down for Abathur, and all of the members of Regen Blue quite low, especially Mongoose. Does manage to escape and forces the Blessed Shield pop. Although he will not escape Dahaka's Wrath, using that TP to come in and secure the kill. They managed to take the camp, but looks like Scorpius will just take it right back, and they should be able to capture Prison Camp of their own. Nice tongue onto Larson. Will fall.
KV Strike hitting some massive tongues so far in this game, and it's been the main way that Scorpius has been able to get kills so far in this team fight. So look for him in future fights in who he's targeting with his tongues in order to see if Scorpius is able to be turning fight with that ability.
Yep, some huge tongues have been coming out from KV Strike. Great job by him. It's been huge. It's been a lot of the reasons they've been winning these team fights, turning around, although he needs to be a little careful here. He's got a 3v1 in the bot lane. Looks like he will just back up, but that does allow Scorpius to get a 4 versus 0 up in the top lane. This fort will go down easy. The fort in the mid lane already going down. It looks like Regen Blue just commits and makes sure that they will not lose that bot fort. Just gonna go ahead and back, it looks like, to get to that top lane faster. And now we see Scorpius rotating down to the mid lane, gonna try to get some push on the keep wall here, although the top cavalry is the one that is a lot healthier. We should be able to get most, if not all, of the wall here. Get one turret, back off, and let the second just get poked down by the minion wave. Dahaka now, uncontested, is pushing on that fort. Looks like Stuka will rotate down, try to give him some help, but they're just going to leave it at half health back off. Looks like they'll probably look for the bottom boss here, while Regen Blue looking for their siege camp. The siege camp has not been picked up in a little while for Scorpius. Just kind of been neglecting it. It's starting to feel a little left out.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Scorpius actually get a little bit more aggressive, pushing for that top cavalry instead, as they were very close to getting 16 and did pick it up with that mid push. So they could have been able to potentially look for a pick and potentially snowball that into the keep instead of going for this boss in a lane that still has a fort. And not only that, but allowing Regen Blue to be going for this boss in the top lane.
Yeah, and I don't think the Scorpius will be able to get there in time to answer. They're just going to have to clear that mid camp and then go top to clear this boss that is taken by Regen Blue. And I do agree with you. I mean, I have to imagine that the reason that they went for that play was so that they could go to the mid lanes, they'd be closer to the bot lanes, they could rotate down and take the boss immediately, but really, I think they could have just stayed top, kept getting that push, and then when they're forced to back off, they go for the top boss. I mean, it's a little risky if you get followed, but still, it's the boss got about half a wall in the bot lane, and although there won't be a whole lot of damage done by Regen Blue's boss, it doesn't even get the well on the fort, and it'll get only one smack off on that fort before it dies. Still probably could have found more value had they pushed hard in the top lane with a fairly healthy cavalry, but they do still have an advantage, almost 2 full levels of lead here, but they're gonna have to fight before they can get a 20 advantage. And Regen Blue is just going to take the siege camp, so they may be able to pick up the prison camp early, but no 20 coming out for a while.
Yeah, and this is the time to fight. They are stepping up for the engage, especially if Dahaka being bought, at least to try to force him to burrow in here, trying to see if they can get their opportunity to go on to Devil, and Brimstone, the former primary targets. We see the burrow in, Mongoose going in, looking for the kill thoughts with Illideth. However, KB Strike in the backline able to kind of peel off the team and force backup here by Regen Blue. Now Grendel with the copy, trying to go in and do some damage, but ends up getting burst down. Judo Chop in trouble, ends up going down. So it will be a 1-for-0 trade so far for Regen Blue.
Yeah, but also important to note, the prison camp has not been retaken by Regen Blue, so that timer is just ticking away. They may win it by the end of this fight.
Yeah, as Mongoose going in trying to stall it out along with Krenovas, but they're not able to with the poke from the Brimstone and Illideth here on Kel'Thas, so that will be the picking up the camp, even though they were still down their Johanna.
Yep, they win. And Scorpius here will have to go deal with that mid camp that's currently pushing down the fort. But even though they lost that fight, it was a 1-for-0, Johanna being the only one who died in the entire engagement. They kind of won the fight in a way. They picked up the cavalry, and the cavalry will help buy them more time as they look for this 20 advantage. They now hit level 19, especially if they can catch up to Jaina. Jaina will escape in the bottom lane, but now you're 19, you're inching ever closer to 20, and you're keeping a pretty good experience advantage. If you can find the wall here, it might be able to give you that push you need to get to level 20.
Mongoose going on to Devil, caught out a little bit here, will end up going down with the root from Larson. So nice pick there to help with their defense a little bit here on the side of Regen Blue. They're just going to be able to burst down bot cavalry, but the mid cavalry with KB Strike and that Dahak already have that keep down to half, and it will be hard for Regen Blue to continue to defend against this push.
It looks like Regen Blue will, though, save their keep, at least for now. A lot of poke damage coming out from Illideth on that Kel'Thas. But yes, it looks like they will keep the keep alive. Mongoose going in, doing a lot of poke damage himself, but he will be forced out. Although the tongue pulls him back in, he's going to be forced to pop Avatar. Nice poke coming out from Scorpius to force the ult out. And they do pick up level 20s, so they may actually look to re-engage here.
Yeah, the problem is they kind of need to confirm this keep now, or else Wheel will be able to heal it up. Even though they are down their Stukov, they should be able to engage here. And they will. Judo Chop going in with the Blessed Shield, forcing out an early Ancestral by Krenovas. They look for Mongoose, not able to get him. Krenovas having to sit through this Phoenix on the point. And it will be a successful fight for the side of Regen Blue, able to pick up that without taking any casualties.
Yep, and like you said, Abathur Mule coming out, so that mid keep is a lot healthier than it was. I certainly still would not call it healthy, but about a third or a quarter, somewhere in that range of HP, which is a whole lot better than the almost none that it had before. Now mid camp's being picked up by both sides. Regen Blue did pick it up in that skirmish on their camp. Scorpius now going and doing the same. They will get to clear the waves here, so they will have an advantage in wave clear in the mid lane. But their 20 advantage, the window of that is starting to dwindle a little. They know that, so they're stepping up to look for an engage here and now while they still have the 20.
Judo Chop stepping up here, seeing if he can catch someone out. Kiwi Strike taking a little bit of damage here from Jason, as the slows are enough to kind of force for a little bit of a hesitation here on the side. Scorpius, nice Buster Shield, able to get Jason only, however, as they attention turns back onto Mongoose, forced to pop Avatar here, taking a lot of damage from the Brimstone. But Phoenix being popped in order to kind of separate him from the team. There's a little bit of an ult advantage here on the side of Regen Blue, as now we see the engage yet again going on to Mongoose. Krinovas very low, and Grendel with this Jaina looking to see if we can get a little bit more value before the clone expires. But so far, on the side of Scorpius, they're very healthy, may even look for a re-engage. Regen Blue is actually looking for their siege camp.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous play because Scorpius was right there. They had all 5 and they were fairly healthy, but Scorpius choosing instead to go take the objective, not going to force the fight. Now 20's being picked up by Regen Blue, makes this game a whole lot closer. Although if the prison camp goes over to Scorpius, that might be enough to win the game for him. So fight has to break out right here, right now for Regen Blue.
Yeah, the engage goes on to Devil, you know. However, a nice Buster Shield kind of alleviates a little bit of pressure, but then the attention turns on to KB Strike and Judo Chop, taking a lot of damage. Stukov does eventually end up going down. Down Judo Chop, the one in trouble, has his level 20 end up being popped. Here, Brimstone on the backside from Jason ends up going down, along with Killsauce with Mongoose in the hat, dealing a ton of damage. Looking to see if they can catch out KB Strike here as well. Continuing with the engage. Can he get one more stun? A nice burrow there avoids the initial stun. However, the damage is still too much for Doc, as he will end up going down along with his mid fort.
Yep, well, so the good news here for Scorpius, they still have an experience lead for what little that counts for this late in the game. Because the prison camp timers are so long, they may still actually have a chance to contest here. They will not have the Haka until right at the time that it would stop, so they will need a stall without all 5 members, but they could do it, especially with Abathur, if he can't clone in time. But the bad news, of course, being they just lost a huge team fight, and the Cavalry are probably still going to go over to Regen Blue without a very, very impressive defense. But, you know, they're still up in structures. That fort being taken by Regen Blue was the first structure they took all game, and all 3 keeps are exposed, 2 of them having damage on them, although Mule has been healing them up. So Scorpius, if they can stop this, if they can make the defense, not without the Stukov they won't. Well, this is all of a sudden does not look nearly as promising. You've got a 5v4 defense
This
now.
game is now wide open. I don't know what Devil, was doing. Maybe he was just kind of waiting until he got a little closer for the stall. But he just kind of sat there and took all the CC from Regen Blue, and they gladly were able to take the kill here, as they're looking for a keep here in order to try to alleviate some pressure and even get constant catapults in this mid lane against the keep that Scorpius wasn't able to confirm earlier on in this game.
Yep, and so you've got to imagine that all 8 non-Abathur members, non-Abathur, non-dead members are just going to be hanging out here in the mid lane. Fight breaking out.
Yeah, the dive goes on to Ildef, will end up burning him down. Meanwhile, Larson looking low from Brimstone, but KB Strike will be the one who ends up going down. Now Grendel able to get the Lunara, as well as looking very dangerous on the side of Scorpius, as Regen Blue does turn their attention now on declaring the wave and will end up going for core.
I think
Now
they
the
can
attention
get it here.
go towards Judo. Oh, I believe they can too. That's only Stukov and Johanna here. Meanwhile, a lot of damage still, especially with the Abathur clone still up, able to do a lot of damage, as that will be game number 2 and the series going on the side of Regen Blue.
And wow, very impressive there at the end, managing to win that team fight, win the game. And 10 kills to 6, your final number in favor of Regen Blue. A great showing by them, but not a bad showing at all from Scorpius. It was not a bad series by any means by either team. We will see now, coming into this match, Regen Blue was in 8th place here in Division B West with 9 points, whereas Scorpius Eternum was in 10th place in the division with 3 points. So nothing will change for Scorpius Eternum. They're still sitting in that spot. They don't have a whole lot of matches left. I believe they'll only have 2 after this one, and I'm not sure they actually can make it to the playoffs because Regen Blue is currently sitting in that last spot. Although after this win, Regen Blue with a domination here will gain 3 points to tie up Arrogant Nephilim at 7th. Well, Arrogant Nephilim will have 1 less match played, but this will move Regen Blue into a tie for 7th place. So good for them, looking to improve their seeding heading into these last few weeks right before the playoffs. So an exciting 2-game series, a 2-0, but both games felt quite close. So hopefully here in a little bit we may get to talk with one of the members of Regen Blue and hear about how they felt during that important match.
Yeah, it will end up being Grendel and Mongoose, the maintain off-lane duo for the side of Regen Blue, joining us shortly here. Should be interesting to see, especially with 2 very different mindsets for the off-laner, going Rexar versus Abathur, and then a very strong game both on Anubrak in Game 1 and Murden in Game 2. Maybe what they're looking at least within those team fights, and in the draft itself.
Yep, it'll be interesting to pick their brains a little. I really liked the way that they drafted these comps, and especially in the second game, you see the Rhaegar Thrall and you go, wow, that's pretty interesting. But then following that up with the Murid and Abathur that they insta-locked, you know they had a plan, and it looks like they're ready for us. So I think we can flip over there now and see what they have to say. Hello, how are you guys doing?
Hey.
We're doing well.
I'm going to go ahead and turn you up a little bit.
Well, here, I can turn myself up a little bit too.
Okay, so Regen Blue, a nice 2-0 win today over Scorpius Eternum, and congratulations first of all, and by my calculations that should move you into a tie for 7th in Div B West as the playoffs grow ever closer. So what's on your mind as we enter these crucial last couple weeks?
Getting out of 8th place so we don't have to play virtual Murky Slayers.
Well, that's always good to have your goals on your mind, know exactly what they are, be zoned into them. So let's see, first game going to Battlefield of Eternity. Just first of all, any general thoughts about how that game went?
We had a little bit of a team refocusing lately, and it really helped. We had some of our friends who were much better at this game step in and start helping us do some replay stuff the last couple days, and it's paid off already, even though they've just barely started working with us. So that was exciting, and it refocused us, and winning, always feels good, which has been a little bit of a struggle this season. I was just happy with us being so much on the same page, I think.
It's good to hear. You guys looked good. It was a very close game, but very well played by both teams. And you did manage to come out on top. So, Rexar on Battlefield of Eternity. You want to talk me through that pick? Because Rexar's a whole lot better now than he used to be, but you still don't see him on BOE very often.
Yeah, we were talking about which off-laner to go with, and Goku wanted to go with the Rexar Misha pick. I liked it because you can kind of use the Misha to put pressure on the Vala and the Li Ming, and Vala is really powerful when she's just kind of left to her own devices, but she's so squishy if you can get something onto her and make her move around and not just sit there and do damage, she's significantly less effective. So that was kind of the idea, is let Misha play around with Vala a little bit and not leave her comfortable in her own space to deal damage.
Well, it seemed like it worked out for you. And the Anubarak in that first game, I gotta say, I was quite impressed. A lot of really nice stuns, a lot of huge cocoons finding people out of position. Would you say you think you carried the team on your back a little bit there on the Anubarak?
If I did, it would be the first time I've done that on a Nubarak this season. A lot of teams been banning him out against us because, like, if you look at my HOTS logs, I've got a pretty high win rate on him and fairly high level with him. But all this season, I've really been struggling on the Anub, not having a lot of success, missing too many of my stuns. So that was one I really needed personally, is to get that kind of a game on a Nubarak under my belt, because it's been a struggle the last couple weeks on him specifically. I didn't have a lot of confidence on the Anubarak play coming in, but got to stick with it, work out the slumps.
Yeah, you certainly were working well today. It looked very good. So, talking a little bit about game number 2 on Alterac Pass, I want to talk about the draft real quick, because the first pick, Jaina, I saw it and I thought, oh, that makes sense, because the Jaina worked really well last game, and Jaina's a very strong hero. And I saw the Rhaegar Thrall in that 2-3, and I was like, ooh, I like where they're going with this, and this is going to be a very aggressive comp. It'll be interesting to see. And then the insta-lock of the Abathur Muradin, it was like, ooh, there's a plan here. This has been very highly thought out, so I want to hear a little bit about this plan. How long has this one been being cooked up in the lab? Like, what came into this comp right here?
Why don't you take that one, Randall?
Yeah, this is a year and a half in the progress. So in back in Chair League was the thing. I joined what was then First Pick Nova, and I drilled into Goose's head that I really wanted to play Abathur over a period of months, and finally we kind of figured out how to play it and work with the team, and we've discovered that it is disgusting with Give Him the Axe Muradin as soon as you hit level 16. Like, if Muradin goes rewind at 20, like half health of Johanna by himself. Level disgusting. So the plan was to kind of double soak and stall the point. They picked the Dahaka, which made that a little bit tougher. We probably should have banned that, but then basically soak until 10, and then another huge power spike at 16, and then of course 20 is another huge power spike. So we were kind of just trying to survive until late game when we knew we scaled harder than they did.
Yeah, well, it worked. It worked, and I mean, it was very fun to watch. It was a very fun comp to watch. I loved what you guys were doing with that. It was very exciting, and it clearly was working. Pumped out a lot of damage, beat them in the kills 10-6, and ended up winning that game. But I gotta imagine that one was pretty darn scary. I mean, you lost all of your forts. That mid keep was just inches, like ticks away from dying. The mule was able to save it, and you were able to turn it off the strength of that last objective. I mean, what was going through your head there, like at the end of the game when it was getting so close, but you were able to turn it around?
That's typical.
Yeah, honestly, the exact words in my mouth as that keep was barely holding on is like, with this exact comp, we've been in this exact situation so many times before. We get to 16, this whole game is going to flip. Like, kind of our goal with it is if our keeps are up and we get to 16, we feel like we've got our win condition up. But Lunara and Dahaka were a problem that game. Honestly, it was as tight as we feel really confident running that. But the Dahaka early game was really an issue. We weren't respecting him enough, and he really was a problem. And the damage from Lunara was an issue. And then also in that kind of comp too, the living bomb out of the Kael'thas, we passed that around like a hot potato a number of times. So they didn't make it easy. But we, as weird as it sounds, that's about where we expect to be when we run that.
I think they probably did approximately double our hero damage overall. It's just we built a comp that's kind of durable and meant to survive.
Yeah, I mean, hey, whatever works, and if the win con is keep the keeps up by the time you hit 16, you did it, and it certainly won the game for you, so I'm not gonna question it. As weird as it sounds, I'm not gonna question it, because clearly it worked for you. I'm gonna pass it over to Dead now to ask some questions, because that's all I've got for the moment.
Yeah, first of all, fantastic win, guys. Kind of sticking in both of those games till the end. My first one's kind of overall looking at both of the games. You guys were really dominating the map camp-wise. Is that just because of those two specific maps we saw kind of that strategy, or is that kind of more pointing to your overall playstyle of dominating kind of the macro game?
I'll let you take that one, Goose.
I think in game one it was more of a reflection of we were kind of. I think we were ahead a little bit for most of the game, and even though the gameplay changes, the catapults, like the occasional catapults, are kind of weird. Over time, they do give you, more control over the map, and I think the mercs in the first game was just a reflection that we had more blue stuff on the map than there was red stuff. It just allowed us more freedom to do what we wanted. In game two, I really think it was pretty even in the mercs. We were just kind of trying to mirror them, especially in the early game when you're a body short with an ABBA comp. It makes it hard to match those exactly. So we're kind of like, if they get boss, we get boss. If and then the mid camp on Alterac, you should be almost getting that thing whenever you can. It's really powerful. So
Yeah, we also used to play a really macro heavy playstyle. It's actually been kind of hard on us adjusting to the really team fight heavy meta, but that's probably also a bit left over from that.
No, I definitely agree. A macro heavy playstyle changed up a little bit with the XP changes, but is definitely very strong, and I thought was very good, especially in game two, for you guys to kind of be controlling that mid lane, even with the first couple cavalries being picked up by Scorpius. My second question is, especially in game two, we saw some early dives, maybe not getting the end up results compared to later on in the game. Is that more just because you guys hadn't hit your power spike yet, or was it more of a change in how you're going into team fights later on in the game?
Well, I'm usually the guy, playing Muradin when we run that, who's pretty YOLO, and it kind of falls on Larson, who's on the Thrall, to, like, Rhaegar, you're not worried about so much, but Thrall needs to function as sort of a pseudo tank to help keep Dahaka specifically off of Jaina. Before that 13, when I get healing static, it's a lot more kind of bob and weave, jump in, jump out, harass, try to zone the backline out. But once you get to 13, 16 with the Abahat, there's no more in and out. It is just in, and you just stay in, and you kind of put your Superman cape on and know that more often than not, there's not a lot they can do to keep them off the backline. Between, Avatar, Stone Form, Healing Static, Abahat, it's a lot to deal with for the other team, and so it definitely changes. In the early, it's more jump in, jump out, bob and weave, don't die. In the late game, it's just dive on that backline and really wreak havoc.
Yeah, great. And then my third question is we saw Scorpius kind of taken one annoying hero per game I'd classify, like the Li Ming in game number 1 and Lunar in game number 2, to kind of flank and maybe even get a couple picks in team fights. How were you guys trying to address those heroes, whether it be like in draft or in comms during fights?
Well, when we saw the Lunara, we were actually kind of okay with it, because Muradin, with Give Him the Axe and the Abahat after 16, just jumps on her and kills her. They did a really good job, though, of keeping that from happening that often. And Lunara positioned well and played pretty safe. We thought she was going to go leap, which actually I think would have given us much bigger headaches.
That would have been more of an issue for sure. I mean, I think if they would have seen it coming, maybe. But a lot of teams don't run this kind of thing, so I think unless you've seen it, you don't really know that adjustment. But leaping strike would have been a significantly more of a problem for sure. Sorry, Grandal, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going, bud.
No, that was done.
My final question is, any shout-outs you guys both want to give on the eve of your victory?
Yeah, I'm going to give a couple. To Scorpius, Eternum, really, those guys, I know Judo Chop's they've been having a little bit of a rough season, and despite that, they're hanging tight, and they're scheduling games, and they're playing out the season, and that's really hard to do. So like I really appreciate how hard those guys are sticking with it and keeping the team together and plugging along. So biggest shout out to SE.
Got a shout out Goku.
Yeah, Goku for filling in because Grendel's computer exploded for game 1, so Goku for filling in for us. Shout out to for our Nobo eSprouts coaching staff of 1 day that's already helped us immensely. I'm looking forward to working with those guys, and then all of our Regen friends and family, Regen Red and Retro and Rag and Murda and the guys. We always get in and cheer each other on, so it's always cool to hang out with those guys and get that support.
Great. And with that, congratulations on the win. Last couple games left. Good luck to trying to, as you said, avoid the first round matchup with Virtual Murky Slayers.
That's the hope.
Guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys very much for your time. Congrats, enjoy it, and we hope to see you guys again in the playoffs.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, and with that concludes our series for tonight. Another good one. It seems we always have the fortune of casting games that are quite good throughout. I mean, this is a 2-0, but like some of the other 2-0s we've seen, both games were very good.
Yeah, momentum was really shifting back and forth to where you didn't really know how it would turn out, and it just came down to that one last Heroes of the Storm team fight that it always seems to come down to that ended up determining the game in and of itself. It could have easily gone the other way in both games, so definitely shout out to Scorpius for keeping both games close and exciting, but Regen Blue able to take the series in the end.
Yep, so one final congratulations to Regen Blue, and thank you to everyone watching this live or recorded. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate NGS for giving us such great HOTS action to cast. And I think that'll about do it from us tonight.
Yeah, just one note again. Sorry about the technical issues on game number 1. That was able to get fully recorded though, so you will be able to see it go up on YouTube, youtube.com/deadlatin. And then I hope you were able to enjoy game number 2 at least, fully casted. Thanks, Jax Taxman, for being able to come in and stream game number 2 at least, and be my co-caster tonight.
Always a pleasure. So, without any further ado, we're going to sign off for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you in the Nexus.
Take care.